Good morning, everybody. It is 10 o'clock, so it is time to begin another episode of Unhindered by Code. So we are turning to the ice-repos project. It's here that we'll explore the use context hook. I'm not sure we're going to do that. I think we might actually just try to get the checkboxes and collect that information. I think that I can spend forever trying to tidy things up, and at some point we've got to actually get some code to work, and I think I should focus on trying to get some code to work. I love refactoring and rewriting existing code. It makes me super happy, but I think it can also get in the way of actually making progress on the project. And I think last Saturday's stream, where basically I just moved everything into their own modules, was good. It needed to happen. I'm glad that I did it, but of course it didn't really it added zero functionality, and I think probably doing yet another refactoring to focus on context probably isn't the right thing to do here. So I'm actually going to change this to let's see. Hello. There we go. We're going to change this on the fly to say add checkboxes for repos. Boom. So I think that's what we're going to focus on today. And real quick before we get into that, you may have noticed the QR code. So I had threatened for a while to create a Discord for all of this, and I finally got around to doing it. I don't know if this was a smart idea or whether this was just silly, but we now have a come on. Oh, that's right, that's not going to happen. Let me escape out of that, and then we can we now have an Unhindered by Coding Discord, and this is a QR code for an invite link. If you wish to join, that'd be awesome. No obligations, obviously. But if you want to join in and share thoughts on what's happening, how to do things better, what projects to work on, what schedule makes sense, etc., 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 I would be more than happy to have feedback from folks on all of that. I haven't actually populated out everything yet. Oops. But we're headed in that direction. So there's an introductions channel, there's a schedule channel where I'll talk about scheduling, and then there are channels for the four main things that I've either worked on in the past and finished, like Rustling's exercise, or that we're currently working on, like ice-repos today, evolution and computation in Rust, and the systems labs in Rust. So the evolution computation work is Wednesday nights from 7 to 9. Actually, I can go to schedule for that. So we'll work on ice-repos Tuesday and Saturday mornings from 10 to noon, like we have been. Evolution computation in Rust will be Wednesday from 7 to 9 p.m. And the systems labs will be Saturday from 2 to 4. All these times are Central Daylight Time. And I'd love to have people join in. So if you're interested in joining the Discord, you are welcome to do so. It's totally cool either way, and we'll hopefully see you there. So I think that's the only news at the moment. And actually, let me check one thing. Because am I going to have a conflict on Saturday? That's a good question. No, it doesn't look like it. Is that conflict going to then be yes? Okay, so we're good for now. So I think we'll be able to do all 4 of those standard streaming times. I guess we'll come back here. I think all 4 of these will work fine this week, and we should be good to go. Okay, questions, comments, suggestions in the chat or in the Discord, all is appreciated. So thank you very much. Take that out of the way. And let us commence. And the QR code will continue to sit here over on the left throughout the stream. And actually, let me know if the QR code doesn't work for you. It worked for me on my phone. But obviously, QR codes can be finicky. And if you have issues with the QR code, definitely let me know and I can try to make that better. Okay, so let us commence to actually doing some stuff. Let's see. So here's where we are. We can enter a organization. We get the pages of repositories from that organization. And now, because our goal is to archive these things, we need some kind of checkmark structure where we can go through and select the ones that we want to archive. And then that's going to have to be collected in some structure. And we're probably actually going to want to keep a list of all of the repositories that have been selected so that we can we don't have to re-request them from GitHub as we move from page to page. So if I'm on page 1 and I select several repositories and I move on to page 2 and I select several repositories and presumably there'll need to be a button here somewhere that's like, hey, archive these, archive selected repositories. And that once I've gone through and selected and I hit that button probably wants to display the list of repositories that I've selected, and I probably want that to be the repos stored in the code so that I don't have to go back out to GitHub to get the information about those repositories. So I probably will need some state thing that's collecting the currently selected list of repositories, which sounds kind of ugly, but I think it's the right thing to do. So let's go to VS Code and let's start with just like formatting and getting the checkbox, and then we'll propagate that back up and figure out how to store it as we do it. So our card currently, well, one thing that has been annoying me for a long time is that everything is like right up against the left-hand side. Although that probably should happen at the app level. Probably should put some padding margin around everything at the level of the app and not be doing it at this level. So I think maybe I don't deal with that right now. But let's Tailwinds CSS. Don't need the colors part. Components. Is that what I'm after? Oh no. Documentation. That's what I'm after. I think I got into the components business, which I didn't want. There we go. Docs. So where layout? There ought to be like margins and spacing, padding, margin. So I think I want maybe M05. Nah, probably want more than that. My options here. Oh my, so much stuff. M3, M4. Okay, so it's, I wonder what auto does. Don't know that I want to deal with auto. But let's, somewhere over the rainbow, we should have, is that going to be in main? Yeah, so we could, on the home page, we could add like M8, and I think that would rebuild the world. And hopefully that'll put a border around everything. Come on, you can do it. Go, little computer. And I don't know if you hear the crickets outside, but it's nice out and the window's open, so there's a little outdoor sound happening. Oh, okay, cool. So that put a little space around things. Could put more. I'm curious what auto would have done. And I could look it up, but in this may be faster just to run it and see what it does. Okay, come on. You can do it. And there we go. Oh, it's right up against the left again. So auto did not do a useful thing. Okay. Let's go back to M8. Actually, I might even do M16. I'm assuming here these were powers of 2. Seemed like they were. So. La 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 la. And yeah, that looks nice. Seaside 3601 S20. And I don't like this font. I mean, there's a lot about this that I'm not thrilled about, but this at least solves the margin problem, and that is a win. So organization repository card. That's what I want. So I'm actually thinking it would be nice to have this actually be a card. Which would be a DaisyUI thing. And let's see, I want like a card, I think. I don't know. Artboard, don't want that. Divider, drop down, hero, indicator, link, window, modal. So I think card is what I'm shooting for here. So if I say that this is div class equals card, and card title, card body. Oh, there's actions. So I could have, oh, wonder if my actions could hold the checkbox. I don't want the image stuff. There we go. Card body, card title, card actions justify end. So maybe I could have the checkbox in the actions section. That might be kind of cool. So actually then this, where'd it go? This example looked like it was probably the most useful. So we'll have card, and then we have to have a card body div around that. Div class equals card body, and then that means we gotta have a div, close div here, actually. And then all of this has to be indented. And then card title, so that's gonna be this right here. And I probably don't want this part, because Daisy will probably take care of that for me. And then the body is just whatever comes after the card title. So I think that's reasonable. Let it build. Does this seem to do a useful thing? Aha! Okay. So now that puts a fair bit of space between them. Is that too much space? Probably is, actually. So the cards must have some padding top and bottom, and a little would be good, but that's maybe too much. Actually, I wanted to go here. Now, card bordered. Do we want a border around it? Applies default paddings. Applies smaller paddings. Aha. So card compact seems like that would be useful. Card compact. Okay. We are not telling us things. So I think it's just class card compact. Does that maybe go on the card? Card compact. It's a little better. And maybe this will probably mostly happen on a bigger computer, not on a phone. I don't know. Could happen on a phone, I guess. What does this even look like? Responsive design mode. I don't know, pick an iPhone 8. Okay. Huh. I wonder if these two things should be on a bigger screen, at least. Putting these on the same line would make sense. Even on a phone sideways, it makes sense. Huh. And certainly on any tablet. So, exit responsive design mode. Let's at least do that for now. So let's lose the close P. Let's put semicolon space. Boom ba-doom boom ba-doom boom 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 ba doodly doo. Probably some universe where it would be more efficient to do this design iteration work outside of you, so that you're not paying for the entire Rust compile cycle all the time, because that's a lot. So okay, so it's a little better. So now if we add an action, oops, I didn't want that, I wanted this. So card actions, let's go down to our little dude without a picture. So we have a button. In their case, we don't want a button, we'll want a checkbox, but we can get to that in a second. So, oops, come on, behave, thank you. Boom. Boom, 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 boom. So let's just run that for fun. Oh, actually that will break because this is you, and so we have to have things like that in curly braces. Okay, now that's gonna build, hopefully. Oh, and I had, I'm not sure why, but listening to the video from the Saturday afternoon stream, my keyboard and mouse noise is really loud. I mean, they've always been louder than I'd like, but they seemed really loud. And if that's happening again today, let me know. I need to buy a boom, I think, because having the mic sit on the desk, and this isn't sort of the real desk. When COVID happened, sort of I ended up moving up into this room, which isn't big enough to hold the nice computer desk, and you don't care, and yada yada, but the mic is just sitting here on the desk next to everything. And so I think if I do things on the desk that are even remotely loud, it comes out very boomy for you, and I apologize. Okay, so that put the actions there. That is way, way over. I do not want way, way over. I bet this justify end is the culprit there. let's try removing that. La, 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 la. Which means I have to figure out where I want that, because really I probably want it kind of on the top left, and I bet it's gonna, where I've put it is gonna be on the bottom left, and so I think I've put it in the wrong place. Yeah, so it's on the bottom left. I really want that to be a checkbox on the top left. And in fact, yeah. Well, let's find a checkbox. There we go, checkbox. So I just want a simple, although having a little label wouldn't be terrible. I bet I can. Do I need a form control? Probably. Because I want to capture when something happens. Boy, there's actually a whole pile of user interface stuff here, because you'd really like to be able to like arrow down and use the space key to change the state of the checkbox. So it'd be nice to be able to sort of do this largely on the keyboard as an option. And I'm not entirely sure what that would look like here. But I'm not going to worry about that now. And actually, for the moment, no, I guess we probably need, do we need, yeah, I bet we need form control to make the label thing happen. So let's do this. We'll plop you actually above the title. Okay. And archive this repository. Oh, and that's going to have to be in code block and quotes. Now, what does that do? This doesn't work because it expected a boolean and got a string. Interesting. Well, I can easily change this to a true. If that's what needs to happen. Let's see what that does. Doodly-doo, doodly-doo, doodly-doo. Boom. Okay, so you're way over there. I don't want you way over there. So why did you end up way over there? And yeah, so the label's on the left, the checkbox is on the right, the labels too big and probably ought to be a different color or something. So is this just the order? And if I reverse the order, is that just all that needs to happen to la 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 la. Aha. So I did put the check mark on the left. This is way too far over. And how is that happening? Is somehow label has decided to take up the entire width of the screen? Or is it something in span? What if we change span to just be P? Oops. Da 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 da. Duddly dum, duddly dum, duddly dum 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 dum. And if anybody here has got experience with Tailwinds or just more like web design, because I don't really have a lot. Whoa, hey! Well, that was the right idea. I need a little space there, and I need to get rid of the buy now button. That is clearly not helpful. So actually I want to put the div card actions here and end that here. Boom. Then we'll get rid of this. Boom. Doodly-doo, doodly-doo. Come on, you can do it, little computer. And UMC 361 S20. Okay, that's actually looking plausible. I need a little space here. I think I want maybe that to be in like italics to indicate that it's sort of an action. That's going to be typography. Text decoration. Underline, overline. Line through, no underline. Not helpful. Decoration style. No. I wonder if they're just expecting to use regular HTML text. Yeah, I suspect they are. Italic. Oh, italicizing. There we go. Class equals italic. Oh, that was in font style. I just skipped over that. Okay. So if I say, what was it? Class equals italic. So I want that here. And I want a little space between the input and the text. So I think I want something like ML4 maybe, if I was remembering the margin stuff correctly. Come on, you can do it. Go, little computer. Hey, welcome back, esitsu. Glad to have you. We are working on. Aha! That actually seems reasonable, although if anything, that's maybe a little too much space. Maybe I want M2 instead of M4. So we're I'm actually in the repository card component. Yes, there are checkboxes. I was, part of me wanted to do more refactoring because I just love refactoring. But I was like, I really ought to add some functionality. I've been refactoring like mad and not actually like making functional progress. And that's a dangerous thing because sometimes refactoring can really make functional progress a lot easier. But after spending Saturday mornings time basically entirely refactoring out all the components into their own modules, I was like, yeah, let's add some functionality here. So we're taking the repository card and, well, the repository card component and actually made it a card. So we're using DaisyUI components to set it up as an actual card with a body and actions and a card title down here. And so hopefully we have, hey, there we go. Everybody's got a checkbox, and the checkbox responds. Nothing happens, of course, yet, but we'll have to fix that. I feel like this is chewing up a lot of vertical space. And if we have mostly I feel like this checkbox is just bigger than it needs to be. What if we, does this look like a phone? Well, that's actually so small it doesn't even, there we go. So I guess my margin's so big that this, oh no, the hero component just doesn't lay out properly. And here, there it doesn't fully lay out either. Oh, so that's interesting. So may have to do something about that. Oh, and we actually need to, if the repository is already archived, this checkbox needs to not be available. And we probably should say something about what's happening. Actually, that would be a worthwhile activity. So let's see here. we really don't even want the form control or the actions. So if repository.archived else then all that's going to scoot over here. And then this really just should be class equals italic. This repository is already archived. Something like that, maybe. Wada, 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 wada. Oh, right. I need gotta have text because this is you, and we have to make everything in strings. Okay, that'll be better. I'm not sure I'll ever do that naturally. And then, oh, let's get out of responsive design mode for now. Aha, cool. So maybe I just leave that alone for now. Don't want to spend forever fiddling with the user interface. We'll tidy some of this stuff up later. And if it doesn't work, the functionality is not there, then worrying about things like font choices and stuff is probably not the right direction to be heading. So in theory, we can click things. Now, at this point, we need something to happen. Actually, at this point, we should probably commit. And I think I need a branch. Yes, I need a branch because I'm on main at the moment. So add repo checkboxes. And then I want to commit what I've done. So main got a margin. So add margin around entire app. Adds a small margin around the entire app. Boom. And then this turn, let's see, add checkboxes to repository card. So this turns the repository card component into a DaisyUI card, and adds a checkbox element at the top of every card. I think that'll do for now. So now we have to do logic. Logic, oh no. So we need something to happen when we check a box. Oh, that's interesting. So I was going to have the default be that every repo is checked by default, because at least for my usage, if I'm pulling this tool up, it's probably because I want to archive the entire organization or the vast bulk of the organization, and so it makes sense that I would by default check mark every repository, but and then the action would be to uncheck it. Now the trick is that there's then not an event that occurs that would tell whoever is getting informed of the state change that something's happened. But I think that just means that in whatever data structure I keep track of this stuff in, its default will need to be like true for archived. So let's not worry about that right now. So this is going to need to emit something, which means we're going to need a callback in the properties. So the properties are going to have some sort of callback that we can emit on. And we have an example of that in organization entry. So we got a callback that returns a string here, and that's called onSubmit, and so we do onSubmit.emit when something happens. Okay, and this sends. Oh, thanks for following. Appreciate that. So this submits sends a string back. What do we want to send back here? In some sense, we kind of want to send the whole repository and its archivedness, like the desired archivedness. We could just send the ID, but then we'd have to look up repositories by ID. But maybe that's the thing to do. I don't know. It's not obvious to me what the best. I mean, if we could send back the repository, a struct that has the repository and a boolean, but I feel like we're going to end up copying a lot of repositories if we do that. We could also send back the ID, which is going to be unique, and there is. So in the repository struct, we do have an ID, and that's, I presume, guaranteed to be unique. That's coming from GitHub, and hopefully GitHub is smart enough that, you know, those have to be unique. We could send back just the ID and collect IDs and preferred states. And then somehow we're going to have to, without going back to GitHub, we're going to have to, when we generate the final, like, here's the list, are you okay with this? That's going to have more information than just the ID. So we'd have to look things up. But we aren't talking enormous amounts of data, so looking up actually shouldn't be that hard. So let's just do that. Let's, for the moment, we'll send back the ID and see if we can make that work later. And we'll cross our fingers and hope. So thanks for the comment. Let's see. So I see what you're saying. Yeah. I think that it will default to checked. At least, so again, this is the problem. Not a problem. The truth is, of course, I'm building this for myself. I don't actually have any evidence anyone else will ever use this app. I kind of feel like maybe somebody else will care. If nothing else, other faculty members that are in a similar position using GitHub Classroom might find this useful. But I'm really doing this for myself. And for me, the default is going to be checked because I'm going to assume I want to archive all or most of the repositories. Once a course is ended, there's little reason to keep those repositories alive, and it would make sense to just archive them all away. So I think since the default is checked, and actually the ID also makes sense from the perspective of there's no reason I can't sit here and go, click, 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 click. And every one of those clicks is going to emit something. And if I'm copying an entire repository struct every time I click, then that's a lot of copying and futzing around. Whereas if I just have an ID, that's a lot less stuff being fiddled with. So I kind of feel like we go with just the ID. So I agree with you, esitsu. I think that's a good way to think about it. So we want, this is going to have, actually I wanted to have, where did that go? There we go. Let's keep that open. So we have a callback. Oh, so we're going to need a struct that has an ID and a desired archive state. And that's going to need to be somewhere. And I think it makes sense probably to put it here for now. So I think we want to have pub struct desired archive state, and it's going to take an ID that's a usize and we'll probably do pub there, pub desired archive state, which is going to be a bool. Okay. And that's going to be then available. Let me get back here. So we're going to want to have and that's going to be the thing that gets returned by our callback. So pub on checkbox change callback. What did I call it? I called it desired archive state. Desired archive state. Okay. Oh, and that automatically brought that in. That was nice. Now we're going to have to grab on checkbox change. Okay. Now when something happens here, we're going to have to act. What do we do here? So we had an on click, so we're going to have an on click on our checkbox. So on click, right? Oh, it's curly brace around on click, except it isn't, because okay, so it's actually curly brace around on checkbox change. Now the question is, does that work? Well, it didn't like that. What's it being grumpy about? So I think it's not liking. Oh, stop it. There we go. I'm not sure that this input is that the problem, that this just doesn't know. Yeah, I think you're right. So I think that I need something like on click equals something more like that. Except for, aha, that's better. So expected a mouse event closure, but found a callback. So we need to actually handle a mouse event here. So actually I'm going to need, yeah, so like I did here where I created little things that call the callback, I'm going to need something like that that takes a mouse event and turns it into the desired dealy. So that makes sense actually. Boom. So if I call, and then I can just say curly brace on click here because I'm calling that little function on click. And that will make more sense, except for, of course, this doesn't work. I don't need, there's no field contents here. And so if I get a click, get a mouse event, then I will, on checkbox change, I will emit, and what will I emit? I will emit a desired archive state that takes the repository.id, and this is, we're going to have a state with this card, which is the current state of the checkbox. Yeah, so we're going to actually have a state in this component that'll be the current state of the checkbox. So that would be like this. But it's not going to be field, of course. Desired archive state, and we'll default to true. And then this is going to be desired archive state. Oh yeah, this needs to be ID colon and desired archive state. Oh, so we can we just do that? Maybe. Oh, ID is a private field. Oh yeah, I never made it public because I wasn't sure I was going to ever need to access it. Well, I do. And then this isn't happy. Oh, because it's a state thing. But no, that wasn't right. So why are you grumpy? Expected bool found use state handle. But why? I would have thought I could. Oh, I think I have to say .get. Is that true? It doesn't look like it. Nope. Oh, because then of course it'll be desired archive state colon dot get. Is that right? No. Oh, I wonder if this is where I would put the star. Aha. Okay. So I tried to dereference it, which was the right thing to do, but it was because I was using the shorthand where the name and the value were the same. When I put the dereference in, that blew everything up. So I needed to like be in a place where I have the name and the reference be different. Oh, what is the problem? There's a lifetime problem. Why does that need to be the case? Oh, lifetimes. Lifetimes. You make me cry. So this. Oh. So I need to clone repository here. I'm going to probably let, because I'm trying to shadow. Is that going to fix that problem? Yes. And, oh, in fact, I could say let desired archive state equals star desired archive state here. And then I think I can just do that. Okay, that's promising, except for still my lifetime problem. Oh, because this callback, I do have to clone this. Poop. That's really annoying, actually. Oh, you're right. I don't need the whole. Yeah. Good catch. So I ought to be able to just say repository.id here. And then this could just become ID. Boom, boom. So then, could you use the event target checked? Yeah, I probably could. I probably could look at the state of the thing that the mouse is pointing to. I think I would prefer to have everything based on this state. So the display will have to be changed down here to be based on this state. But I guess part of what you're saying is that if I use the actual display checkbox, I don't need the state. I always just can look at the checkbox to see and then I'm seeing exactly what the user's seeing. So that's a possibility. And then I don't have to have a state. And then there's no way for the state and the checkbox to get if the state and the element could get disconnected, and even if they stay connected, I have to keep them connected. Whereas if I always just look at the checkbox, then it becomes the state and I don't have to think about it. So that's actually, I think that's probably a reasonable idea. Okay, let's, get rid of that. And now we're going to have to figure out how to like root around in the mouse event. Okay, I didn't do that here. Okay, so we're going to have to actually figure this out. So we're going to have an E, so I'll call it event, and we are going to need to, oh, I left all this. Oh, no. That still is like this. It's this mouse event that's the on click that I need to, it's the input event that I need to handle. And here I had to do the get value from input to go digging around and getting the value. So I'm going to have to do something like this. It's going to be kind of gross. I'm going to just plop this in here, and that's going to, we'll comment all this out, but I can at least see what's going on. So, so we're going to have a callback from, so we do need an event. So mouse event here. And we're going to have to figure out what happens with that. So I think we're going to need to get the target, let event target equals event, mouse event dot target dot unwrap throw, and that was a thing that throws a JavaScript exception, I think. Which to me, probably that's useful in other places. I think that I just had that as a copy paste from somewhere earlier, but I bet that that actually be helpful in other places. Now, this, okay, it doesn't like this. Why are you grumpy? So I'm going to put through here so that that part compiles. So what type are you? Why do you not know? You knew you were in a mouse event 10 seconds ago. Why is that grumpy? Oh, yeah, sure. Desired archive state is going to be true. Now, why do you not know that you're a mouse event anymore? So when I don't do that, then I know that it knows it's a mouse event. But when I do this, it loses that knowledge. That's weird. So you think I have to turn it into an HTML input element? So now earlier we had done a dine into instead of a unchecked into. I don't know if there is a clear reason to prefer one to the other. So if I could change this to mouse event. Ah, it doesn't like this. Interesting. So now it's an option event target. Oh, that was because I hadn't imported this unwrap throw extension. That's why that wasn't happy. And I bet now I could probably take this out again. No. Interesting. Well, fine. We'll put you back. And then you're suggesting that, so we can either do unchecked into or dine into, and I don't know. Oops. HTML input element equals event target dot. So you're suggesting unchecked into F64. Well, I don't want that. So that looks like that would do the right thing. Whereas I'm not seeing, oh, there we go. We could do that. So performs a zero cost unchecked cast in the specified type. Does not check whether self is an instance of T. If it's used incorrectly, this could cause runtime exceptions both Rust and JS. It should be used in caution. Now, if I do dine into, does a checked at runtime. So let's do that. I'm going to be cowardly and check. And then we'll need an unwrap throw again. Then desired archive state, let equals target dot value. But that's going to come as a string. Value, I want value as boolean or something. As boolean? No. Oh, checked. Good catch. Thank you. Boom. Bop. So checked is going to return true, I presume, if the checkbox is checked, which means we then want the archive to be true. So I think we're good there. And then this can just become that. And that all compiles. Oh, stop that. We can get rid of this stuff. I think that has ceased to be useful. Now, why are you grumpy? Oh, I still have a static thing. Why? Oh. So I've got to clone this to send this in, I'm guessing. To get rid of the lifetime problem. Okay, that takes care of that. Woohoo! So now we've got to fix where we call repository card. We are not sending in a callback, and so we got to fix that, and that's in repository list. So repository list is grumpy right here because we have to send it our callback function here. And so I think that if we look at main, I think is where we have, yeah. So we pass this on submit here. So we're going to need something like that, but we're going to need it for every one of oh no, we really only need it once because we're sending back the ID and the state, so we don't really need to know which card it came from because the information that we get will have everything we need. That's good. So we're going to need something like that. We're going to get a desired archive state callback. And we're going to get, this needs to be, no, this doesn't. We just don't need to worry about that. I don't think, at least not right yet. And it's not going to be a string. It's going to be a desired archive state. And this is going to need to be repository and on submit. Not happy. Oh, probably it's just because this isn't compiling. So let's get this to compile first. So actually, initially, we could just, so let me leave that, comment that out, bring that back, and say we clicked ID value desired archive state. So then I guess we could just say .id and but then I don't think we can put that in curly braces like that. No, this has got to be a thing. So we could let desired archive state ID desired archive state equal desired archive state okay, so that I think that part compiles. It won't do anything interesting yet, but it compiles. Why are you grumpy? So I think we have to repository card. It's on checkbox change, so I think I have to say on checkbox change equals on submit. No. It's ownership problem. What is going on there? How do we deal with that here? Well, that's weird. What are we... Why is that being sad? Oh, it needs to be moved into this map, and the other one doesn't have the map, so there isn't a move there. So I need to clone on checkbox change, No, on submit. Can I just do it here? Bet I can't. Oh. Maybe I can. Ah. Zippity-doo-dah. And Clippy's telling me I need a semicolon there, which is probably true. And okay. So does that all then do the right thing when we click stuff? I guess we could run it and find out. Because in theory, it's compiled. So in theory, we can run it. And we can look at the JavaScript console. And now we clicked. So that'd be the second one, which is right here. Yep. The ID was 236-4900. Yeah. So that looks like that did a thing. And then it's true and false and true and false. Yay. Different one. Different one. Well, I really should have tests. The lack of tests is killing me. So we are actually now passing the desired information back to the repository list component. So that's good. Now the repository list component presumably needs, and right now all we're doing is logging, so that's clearly not sufficient. We have to do more than that. At the moment, so actually I'm gonna commit this, because the fact that something's doing something is always kind of exciting. Oh, and actually there's another Clippy warning. Repository list it says we don't need this. Oh, maybe when I copied, pasted some code around, that showed up. So here we add desired archive state struct. I don't really like this name. I'm using this name everywhere, and I don't think it's an awesome name. And if somebody's got a better name, man, I will take it, because I'm bad at naming. Actually, it's one of my decided weaknesses. I tend to just go with big, kind of brutish descriptive names like desired archive state, when there's often a better, more elegant name to be had. If you can think of a better, more elegant name, I would love to hear it. This as a desired archive state struct that has the ID and current desired archive state boolean. Boom, boom, boom. That records the user's current desired state for this repository, for the repository with this ID. With this ID. And then this. So we emit updated desired archive state from repository card. So this creates a callback that allows repository card to emit an event when its checkbox is changed. This goes to repository list, which currently just logs that fact. La 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 la. Okay. Now, go away. So repository list gets this. Now, does repository list want it? Is the question. Or does repository list really just want to send it to the repository paginator? So, because repository list has a list of repositories that is the current page of repositories. It doesn't have all of them. It only has the current page. It also the paginator, we look here, the paginator, close you, the paginator has these buttons, and every time I click one of these buttons, I'm going to want to capture. So if I'm on 1 and I've gone and I've done some clicking and I move on to 2, moving on to 2 means I'm going to want to capture all the information about what was in that list before I move on. If I have already captured it, because if repository list passes the checkmark info up to paginator, then I don't have to do anything. I've got the information in paginator and I can just move on. If I keep this information in repository list, then I have to somehow make sure that when I click a button, that before I make the new repository list component, I get the information out of the old repository list component. And that sounds like a thing I can fail to do. So I kind of feel like this ought to come all the way up to the repository paginator, which may also mean, so I've had doubts about whether the repository paginator should contain the list like it does. And in fact, it might be better if the reverse were true, if the list contained the paginator and the paginator just returned what number somebody clicked on and the list did all the going to GitHub and doing all that work. Actually, that stuff probably ought to be off in some services. And that's another refactoring that probably ought to happen, but it's not going to happen right this second. Okay, and just a sec, I'm going to need to take off and do something quick for family. I will be right back. And I'm back. Sorry about that. So I think for the moment, we are going to just push this up to the paginator. And I think there's going to have to be some refactoring later, because I think that's going to tell us the fact that we're having to push this information through repository list into the paginator suggests that something's in the wrong place somewhere. And it's 11:32, so I'm not going to fix that problem now. We're going to do the bad thing and just push it on up to the paginator, and then we'll deal with it. Which is terrible, famous last words in computer science. We'll deal with that later. Or at least in computer programming. So really, the repository list is going to need a callback, and it's going to then have to call that callback here and pass it the desired archive state, and that'll push it back up. Yeah, no, absolutely. I do feel like use context could be a thing. And I've nearly made that a point of the exercise. But every time I think about it outside of streaming, I'm never convinced that it's just not like a cheap global variable, and that what I really want to do is get the structure of my components correct. And that if I had better component structure, I could avoid context. The one exception to this is I may need context when we're going to have to get around to authentication at some point, because now that we're actually, getting check marks, at some point there's going to need to be a big button that's like, archive these. And when that comes into the world, then we're going to need authentication. And at that point, I think probably having context is the better plan. But for the moment, I actually think that context, I'm worried that context will encourage/allow me to do not great things. And so I don't want to go down that road if I can help it. And so actually thinking about it, I probably don't need this. I just need to pass in a callback through these props and then use that callback here, and then that would just automatically call back all the way to the pagination. So basically, if I pass in a callback here and then use it down here, I will jump over the repository list, and all those emits will just go straight to the paginator. And that's probably, at least for now, reasonable. I think that I do feel like repository list should own the paginator, and the paginator should do less. But for now, I'm going to actually see if we can just add the callback coming from the paginator, and we'll go with that and see if that works. So this, I think we just need to add this. And then this is gonna need to be on checkbox change. And then I think I can just lose all this, but I'm going to want it in a second in the other place. And we'll just pass in on checkbox change. but I bet I have to clone it. Do I? Maybe not. So could this just become curly brace? Maybe. Okay. And then this is going to need to be in RepositoryPaginator. Where's this stuff? Yeah. And this is gonna be, we're gonna call repository list. We're gonna send it the list of things. This is gonna be on checkbox change. Oh, we need to import desired archive state. And we need to send this on checkbox change. So that all compiles. So then the question is, does this run? If it does, that would be pretty nifty. UMM CSI 3601 S20. Okay, now, oops, I want show JavaScript console. Boom. 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 Cool. So we are getting those up in the paginator. That's nifty. So let me actually commit that. So move checkbox change events up to, or we'll say bubble. I think that's better. Bubble up to paginator. This uses a callback constructed, or this now the repository paginator constructs a callback which is passed through repository list to repository card, which allows checkbox events to be passed back up to the paginator. Boom, bop, 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 bop. Okay. Oh, actually, I should say that this, the paginator currently doesn't do anything with them except create a console.log message update. There we go. Now, so we're in the paginator and we actually want something to happen here other than logging. So at this point, the paginator is going to need to have some kind of record of all the repositories and whether we want them to be archived, or even whether they can be archived. Is that true, or do we just leave previously archived repositories out of the list? Because we'll use this to generate the final, like, here's the list, are you good? And we know previously archived repositories will never appear in that. So maybe we don't need to worry about previously archived repositories, and instead we can just worry about the repositories that I completely lost track of my thought there. My apologies. We only need to keep track of not previously archived repositories. So I think we can just have repository IDs and booleans. So that smells like a hash map to me. It's a little awkward because it's not going to be sorted by... It won't be sorted in the same way that the repositories are going to be sorted here in this display. So this is currently sorted by when they were last pushed to, and if we put them in a hash map and all we have is the ID and the state, we're just probably going to end up sorting by ID if we sort by anything. An ID is probably corresponds to creation date. So that's not an insane solution, assuming that GitHub does their IDs numerically excuse me, and just incrementally, then we can probably just order by ID and we'll actually be okay. So let's just do that. Let's keep it for now. If it becomes a big deal, we can deal with it. But we want some kind of hash map that maps IDs to booleans. And whenever we get a page of repositories, we're going to have to update that thing. And that makes me, I mean, we could just like hack that in as part of this state. But I feel like we may want to actually have a separate struct, because it might be nice to impl things on it. Yeah. So what if we say wow, this is really big, and I'm about to make it worse. So that's all the parsing stuff. Let's actually just put this down here. So struct desired archives states. Wow, that's a terrible name with just one letter different at the end. How about archive state map? And it's going to have a pub mute map type hash that's going to take oops, come on, go away. IDs are uSizes. So let's take a uSize and a boolean. And it doesn't like that. So do I not? Oh, the mute goes over here. Is that right? No. Yes? No. La 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 la. But if I don't say something's mutable somewhere, I'm going to have a problem. Oh, this is probably going to have to be a ref. Is that true? Because HashMap, well, no, HashMap. And so we declare it to be mute so we can insert things into it. La 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 la. And now this or insert will be useful. So I feel like something's amiss here, and I'm going to figure that out. But let's roll with it and hope that the compiler at some point goes, you need mute, and then it'll tell me where to put it. So now I could do things like impl archive state map, and I could take I can have a pub. I probably don't need a pub. I just need function add repos that takes a reference to self and a vec. Actually, I probably want a repository. So slice of repositories, and then for each I don't need to return anything. Repository unknown. There we go. What is this unknown nonsense? Oh yeah, right. I have to. So repository. There we go. That's better. Now if I return self here, I could chain these. Is that going to be useful? Not sure. I'll leave it alone for now, but that might be, maybe you make a note. Might want to return self here so I can chain calls. And we'll deal with that later. So then repositories dot iter, and then for each one, actually I think I can just say map. Oh, but I'm doing this as a side effecty thing. So I probably want for repo in repositories. Do I need a dot iter or does that work? No, that works. Okay. Then I want self dot map dot was it insert? Where was it? What was it? We were just looking at something and it was going to be useful. So hang on, just do that, and then we come back to here. Where was entry or insert? Insert a key only if it doesn't already exist. So I think that if we already have an entry for a given ID, we don't want to do anything. Otherwise, we want to put true in. So I think we could say or insert. So self map dot entry repo dot ID or default. What does that do? Oh, that would be the default value. I want to be explicit. Or insert true. Boom. Now it's grumpily because cannot borrow self map. Yeah, so this is where the mute's going to come in. As is behind an ampersand reference. Consider changes to be a mutable reference and mute self. Oh, well, and mute self makes sense. Oh, so that just makes the whole struct mutable, which makes the HashMap available to us in a mutable form. Aha, that's cool. And so that sets everybody to be true by default. So we ought to be able to now do things like where do we get the repository list? Does that happen in update state for organization? Oh, and actually we don't even have an archive state map. In the state anywhere at the moment. So update state, where is that? Go to definition. So that builds calls state.set repo state. So we could update the repo state here. By adding that to the repository state and then passing some stuff around. So where's repository? Okay, here we are. So this we would add, so now that tells me that this is in the wrong place. Yeah, because that really probably wants to be before or with at least this business up here. And so now this is going to have a state map, which will be an archive state map. And now this will cause a lot of things to not compile anymore because we're missing pieces. And that's cool because Rust will help us out by fussing. So right here, state map is HashMap new. Oh, no. State map. We don't, it's not a hash map. It's an actual state map. So we don't need, but we probably want an archive state map. Well, that would work. But I think we could, let's do this. And then that will blow up here because we don't have an impl for that. New isn't going to take anything and is going to return an archive state map with a map. It's a hash map. New. Woo! Didn't like that. Oh, yeah, it's because we didn't return anything here. Archive state map. Okay, that's good. So now 172. So this is in update state. So we're going to want to we don't want to overwrite the old state. We need to be able to modify the old state. So we're going to need like state map gets state map dot add repos repositories. Now that's grumpy. Yeah, because that add repos doesn't return anything. So when we call set on state, there's not a update kind of option, I don't think, right? State dot set yeah. So we're going to have to give it a new state struct. And that new state struct is going to have a map. And that map is going to want to be based on the previous map. So really, this is going to have to return a state map. My original question about whether I was thinking about it in terms of chaining calls, but I think it's actually going to just have to be this way. Now, does that return something? No. It returns the value, which is helpful. Oh, and I guess we want it to be at the end anyway. So self. Does that work? Yeah, seems to. No. Yes. Mismatch types. Expected archive state map found and mute archive state back. The state map. So do we have to return and mute self here? Yes. Okay. But now I think that's grumpy for reasons elsewhere. Oh. So actually, no, we do have an issue here in that doesn't implement debug. So I would have to add a debug for archive state map. Well, that's mildly annoying. Not necessarily end of the world annoying. Oh, it's after 12. I should... how close do we think we are to fixing this? 174. So, come on. Found and mute archive state map. Okay, I think if I try to solve this problem now, I will just write bad code. It would be better to step away. So I'm going to step away. A reminder, so we'll come back to this on Saturday. Thank you all for being here. A reminder that over here is QR code if you want to join the Discord and help share cool ideas and see notifications about updates to the schedule, etc., 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 etc. That would be awesome. And we'd love to see you there. Otherwise, I will be back tomorrow night doing evolutionary computation stuff in Rust. And we might do... What we might do? We had started... last week we'd started some refactoring to clean some things up in that code. We might come back to that. Might also look at some performance results, comparing Rust and Clojure, because I think those are interesting at the moment. And then we'll at some point start going from genetic algorithms to genetic programming. Yeah, that's where we are at the moment. So that'll be tomorrow night from 7 to 9. We'll come back to ice-repos Saturday morning from 10 to noon. And then we'll do system lab stuff in Rust Saturday afternoon from 2 to 4. So thank you all for being here, and I will see everybody later. Ciao!